If you don't work, you don't eat. You're a hunting dog. Hunt up some food. We girls are different. We have to be pampered because we're delicate and refined.
One of several hang-ups Cowboy Bebop has is gender. Specifically, the show constantly asks the question, what is the difference between men and women? And the answer to that question is not as clear-cut as the show makes it seem at first glance. For instance, the show constantly gives us several explicit supposed examples of how men and women differ through dialogue.
Babes like her are the first ones that go soft when it comes to an old boyfriend.
Is that right?
Women are hopeless. They don't work on reason.
The more righteous a guy was back in his youth, the more likely he is to fall for some young thing when he gets older.
Is that right?
Definitely, men are extremely predictable.
But the show goes out of its way to contrast this dialogue with the characters' actions. Faye is much less impulsive, needy, or delicate as Jet and even herself like to believe. And when Faye doesn't understand why Spike or Jet might suddenly act out of character, she chalks it up to their nature as men, when in reality, she just doesn't get the full picture. These are self-centered characters, each living in their own narrow world, and they'd rather make excuses for how the others act based on their most readily apparent trait, their gender, rather than take the effort to understand each other fully as individuals in their own right. The development of each episode confirms this theme as we find out more and more about each character's past, slowly forming an understanding as to why they act the way they do. Jet is a great example. Although he's established as a sly and apprehensive bounty hunter, we learn very early on that he used to be an officer for the Intersolar System Police, and at first, this info is a footnote, but as the series progresses, we learn each factor that led to him quitting the force and becoming a bounty hunter. It is through setting up expectations of a character, and then breaking those expectations in ways that make sense, that we develop characters, make them complex, aka real human people. And by showing that, along with the other mains making snide comments about how men are idiots, or women are delicate, it undercuts those kinds of comments in the real world. No, women aren't fragile specimens, they're complex people with a past that brought them to where they are. That's not to say that Bebop doesn't objectify women and their bodies. There are tons of shots where we're closer to Faye's thighs than her face. And some character designs don't leave much to the imagination. If that's enough for you to call the show as a whole misogynist, then sure, I can't say you're far off. But it's despite this visual voyeurism that the actual writing transcends gender norms and challenges them, however subtly. All this ignores further themes of androgyny and gender fluidity that pervade somewhat. Main character Edward is very androgynous, leading even some viewers to conclude she's a guy when that's not the case. VT from the episode Heavy Metal Queen is also an androgynous cis woman, and she's portrayed as a freaking badass. The character Gren from the episodes Jupiter Jazz Parts 1 and 2, while at first appearing as a somewhat androgynous man, actually has a hormonal imbalance due to an experimental drug, and identifies as both at once and neither one, implying he identifies as gender fluid, although the show still uses he/him pronouns after this. All of these characters, Ed especially, are painted in very positive lights, showing a proclivity, if minor, to portray great characters that don't exactly fit gender norms, and doing so multiple times across the gender spectrum. That's pretty incredible, even by today's standards. In short, while Bebop's portrayal of gender is far from perfect, it still promotes a greater understanding of it, questioning dominant gender roles through writing phenomenal characters.
You know, he's kidding himself if he thinks his old girlfriend's still carrying a torch for him.
And you're kidding yourself if you think every woman's like you. They're not, you know.
Duty calls 3 o'clock tea.